The crowd of aliens filled the arena with strange sounds. Their voices were sharp, clicking, buzzing, almost like laughter, but darker. Bright lights from above shone down on the single human standing in the middle. His name was Daniel. He was the only one from Earth, and he felt the heavy weight of every pair of alien eyes watching him. Daniel's heart beat fast, but his face stayed calm. He had already survived many strange tests, but now the trial was different. In front of him stood two girls. They were both human, or at least they looked human. The first girl was stunning. Her hair glowed like silver. Her face looked perfect, her smile warm and bright. Even in this cruel alien place, she shined like a star. Most people would not even think twice before choosing her. She looked like hope itself. The second girl was the opposite. Her hair was dull, almost gray. Her skin was marked with scars, her clothes plain and rough. Her face was not beautiful, not even close. Her eyes stayed low as if she was ashamed of herself. She seemed smaller, weaker, and unwanted. The aliens had arranged them side by side like a cruel joke. A booming voice echoed through the arena. It was the voice of the alien judge, the one who had commanded every challenge so far. Human, the voice said, cold and heavy. Choose one, only one. The beautiful or the broken. Choose now. Daniel swallowed. His hands shook slightly, but he forced himself to think. It was a test. Everything here was a test. The aliens were watching not only his choice but his soul. Around him, the crowd grew louder. Many of the aliens made clicking sounds, mocking laughter. They were waiting for him to fall into their trap, whatever it was. Daniel looked at the shining girl. Her eyes locked onto his, full of confidence, even pride. She looked as if she already knew he would pick her. Her smile widened, almost too perfect, almost too sharp. Then Daniel looked at the second girl. She did not look at him. Her eyes stayed on the ground. Her shoulders were low, as if she expected rejection. But just for 1 second, so fast he almost missed it, her eyes lifted, and in that tiny moment he saw something. Her eyes glowed. Not bright, not obvious. Just a faint spark, deep and hidden. Something alive. Something powerful. Daniel's breath caught. Did the aliens see it? No, they were too busy laughing. Did the other girl notice? Her confident smile did not move. Daniel's mind raced. The beautiful girl looked safe, easy, the obvious choice. The ugly girl looked weak, fragile. But Daniel trusted his instincts. And his instincts screamed that things were not as they seemed. The alien judge grew impatient. Choose, the voice thundered. The floor beneath him shook with force. Daniel straightened his back. He raised his hand and the arena grew silent. Every alien leaned forward, ready to laugh at his weakness. Daniel pointed, not at the shining star, but at the scarred girl. I choose her, he said firmly. For a second, silence ruled. Then the arena exploded in sound. Laughter shook the air, cruel and loud. Aliens pointed, clapped, and mocked. Some hit the ground with their claws. Others screamed with high voices that pierced his ears. Daniel stood still. His choice was made. The ugly girl slowly looked up, shocked. She pointed to herself as if asking, me? Daniel nodded once. Yes, you. The shining girl's smile faded. Her perfect face twisted only for a second into something cold and sharp. Daniel saw it. No one else did. The scarred girl stepped forward nervously. The aliens laughed harder, their voices echoing like thunder. The judge's voice returned, filled with disgust and amusement. Foolish human. You have chosen weakness. You have chosen failure. You have chosen death. But Daniel did not answer. His eyes stayed on the girl beside him. She looked nervous, but that strange spark was still in her eyes. She tried to hide it, but Daniel had already seen. He whispered softly so only she could hear. Don't hide. I know there's more to you. The girl's eyes widened, but she said nothing. Above them, the aliens continued to laugh, certain that the human had made the worst choice possible. But Daniel smiled to himself. The game was just beginning. The alien arena shook with cruel voices. The moment Daniel made his choice, the crowd of creatures roared with ugly laughter. The sound was not normal laughter. It was sharp, twisted, and mocking like knives scraping against stone. Everywhere he looked, claws clapped, jaws snapped, wings flapped in amusement. They were enjoying his mistake. To them, it was entertainment. The alien judge spoke again, its voice booming through the air like rolling thunder. Human, it hissed, you could have taken perfection. You could have taken strength. But instead, you chose the broken one. You chose shame. The crowd cheered the words, their strange bodies shaking with joy. Daniel stood tall, refusing to bow his head. He had seen that spark in the scarred girl's eyes. He trusted it, even if he could not yet explain why. The beautiful girl, still standing where he left her, smiled again, but this time it was not kind. Her perfect lips curled into something sharp. She spoke softly, only loud enough for Daniel to hear. "You will regret this, human." Her voice carried no warmth now. It was cold as ice. Daniel stared at her for a moment and then turned his back. He would not give her the satisfaction of seeing doubt in his eyes. The ugly girl stepped forward nervously, walking to his side. Her steps were light, almost trembling. She whispered, her voice unsure. Why me? Why not her?" Daniel glanced at her. Her scars, her lowered head, her shaking hands, all told the story of someone who had been beaten down her whole life. But her eyes told a different story, a story she did not want the world to see. "Because I saw something," Daniel said quietly, "something the others didn't." The girl's lips parted as if she wanted to answer, but before she could, the judge spoke again. "The choice is made. Now the trial begins." The floor beneath them cracked open. The ground split apart and a wide path revealed itself, leading into a dark corridor. Strange lights flickered along the walls and the smell of smoke and metal filled the air. The aliens laughed louder, clapping their claws together. Some shouted strange words, betting how quickly the human and his weak partner would die. Daniel's fist tightened, but he said nothing. He placed a hand on the girl's shoulder and guided her toward the dark path. She flinched at his touch, not used to kindness, but she did not pull away. Together, they stepped into the corridor. Behind them, the laughter of the aliens echoed like thunder, chasing them into the shadows. The corridor was long and cold. The walls pulsed faintly as if alive, and the lights flickered in random patterns. The air smelled thick, almost poisonous. Daniel stayed alert, watching every corner. The girl walked beside him, silent, but her eyes darted quickly, studying details he almost missed. Once, when Daniel moved forward, she suddenly grabbed his arm. "Wait," she whispered. He froze. A second later, a spike shot out of the wall, right where his head would have been. The spike slammed into the opposite wall with a heavy clang, then retracted. Daniel looked at her in shock. "How did you—" She shook her head quickly, cutting him off. "Just trust me." He stared for a long moment, then nodded. Trust. That was what this was about. They walked on, step by step. The deeper they went, the more traps appeared. Hidden blades, shifting floors, bursts of fire. Every time, the girl seemed to know a moment before danger struck. She would pull him back, push him aside, or stop him with a warning. Daniel began to notice something. Each time she acted, her eyes flickered with that faint glow he had seen before in the arena. It was quick, easy to miss, but he saw it. He knew it was no trick of the light. Finally, after passing a row of deadly swinging axes, Daniel could no longer keep silent. "You're not weak," he said firmly. The girl froze. Her lips trembled. "I am. That's what they told me. That's what everyone told me." Daniel shook his head. "No, you're hiding something. Something powerful." For a moment, her eyes met his. The glow returned, brighter this time, as if his words had unlocked something deep inside her. But she quickly turned away. "If they hear you say that, they'll destroy us both." Daniel's jaw tightened. The laughter of the aliens still echoed faintly through the corridor walls. But now it sounded different. It was not just mocking, it was nervous too. The girl was not ordinary. Daniel knew it. And maybe, just maybe, the aliens knew it too. As they moved deeper into the dark passage, Daniel finally understood something important. The aliens were not laughing because he made a foolish choice. They were laughing because they were afraid of what his choice could become, and that fear was only beginning. The dark corridor stretched on like a throat leading into the unknown. Each step Daniel and the scarred girl took echoed through the walls, bouncing back at them in hollow whispers. Behind them, the laughter of the aliens faded into the distance, replaced by silence. But silence here did not mean safety. The air grew colder. Strange symbols glowed faintly on the walls, written in a language Daniel could not read. The girl, however, kept glancing at them, as if she understood more than she wanted to admit, Daniel noticed. "You know what those mean, don't you?" She kept her head down. "Maybe, but it's better if I don't say." Daniel frowned. "Better for who?" She did not answer. Instead, she quickened her pace, her bare feet moving almost soundlessly over the floor. Daniel sighed and followed. The corridor suddenly widened into a vast chamber. The ceiling rose high above, filled with sharp crystal shapes glowing with faint blue light. In the center of the chamber stood 3 alien beasts. Their skin looked like black stone, their eyes burning red, their bodies large and heavy. The beasts lifted their heads the moment Daniel and the girl entered. A deep growl filled the chamber, vibrating through Daniel's chest. Daniel's hand instinctively reached for the short blade the aliens had given him earlier in the trials. The blade was simple, barely sharp, more like a toy than a weapon. Still, it was all he had. The girl, however, stood still. Her breathing slowed. Her eyes glowed faintly again. Daniel whispered, "What are you doing?" "Run," she shook her head. "No, watch!" The first beast charged, claws slamming against the stone floor. Daniel raised his blade, ready to fight, but before he could move, the girl lifted her hand. A ripple of energy flashed from her palm. It was not fire, not lightning, not anything Daniel had seen before. It was light and force together, invisible yet powerful. The beast was thrown backward as if struck by a giant hammer. It crashed into the wall with a loud crack, dust raining from the ceiling. Daniel froze, eyes wide. The girl lowered her hand, trembling slightly, but she was still standing. The other 2 beasts roared and attacked together. Daniel leapt forward to distract them, slashing with his weak blade. His strike barely cut the skin of one creature, but it turned its attention to him. The second lunged for the girl, claws raised. The girl's eyes glowed brighter now. She moved faster than Daniel had seen before, ducking under the strike and touching the beast's chest with her palm. Another wave of invisible energy burst out, throwing the creature to the ground. It lay still, smoke rising from its body. Daniel struggled against the third beast. It was stronger, pushing him down with its massive weight. His blade slipped from his hands. Just when the beast's jaws opened to bite, a sudden blast of light shot past him. The creature screamed, its body thrown high into the air before slamming into the wall and shattering the crystals above. The chamber fell silent. Dust floated in the air. All 3 beasts were down. Daniel lay on the ground, breathing heavily, staring at the girl. She stood in the center, her scars glowing faintly as if touched by fire. Her chest rose and fell quickly, but her eyes burned with something powerful, something unearthly. Daniel finally spoke. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "You're not weak at all." The girl shook her head quickly. "No, I'm dangerous." Daniel pushed himself up. "Dangerous to them, maybe. Not to me." She looked at him for a long moment, as if trying to decide whether to trust him. Then she turned away. "We should keep moving. They'll send worse next time." As they left the chamber, Daniel realized something important. The aliens had set this trial for one reason: to prove humans were weak. That was the joke. That was why they laughed, but now the girl had broken their game. She had shown power they did not expect. And Daniel understood. This was not only about survival. This was about rebellion. The deeper they went, the stranger the path became. Hallways twisted into impossible angles. Gravity shifted, pulling them sideways, then upside down, then back again. Daniel nearly fell several times, but the girl walked with strange balance, guiding him, holding his arm when he slipped. At one point, Daniel asked, "Who are you really?" The girl stopped, staring at the shifting walls. For a moment, she looked older than she was, as if carrying years of secrets. "They call me ugly. They call me broken. But the truth is something I'm not ready to share. Not yet." Daniel studied her face, the scars, the glow in her eyes, the way her body trembled slightly after using her power. She was extraordinary, but also afraid. He nodded. "Then I'll wait. But know this, I chose you for a reason, and I won't regret it." For the first time since he met her, the girl's lips curved into the smallest smile. It was quick, almost hidden, but it was real. Far above them in the alien control room, the laughter had stopped. The alien judge watched the screen with cold, narrowed eyes. "This is not possible," it hissed. She was supposed to be nothing. She was supposed to fail. Another alien beside it leaned forward. "Perhaps the human knows more than he should." The judge slammed a claw against the table. "No, he is only guessing. But this girl, she must be stopped, before she remembers what she is." The corridor twisted downward, leading Daniel and the girl deeper into the alien structure. The air grew warmer now, filled with the scent of smoke and metal. Strange lights pulsed along the walls, almost like a heartbeat guiding their way. Daniel's mind was heavy with questions. He had seen her power with his own eyes. He had watched her destroy creatures twice his size with nothing but a touch. Yet she walked beside him as if she wanted to disappear, her head low, her shoulders tense. Finally, Daniel broke the silence. "You saved me more than once back there," he said. "That wasn't luck. That was something else. What are you hiding?" The girl froze for a moment but then kept walking. Her voice was soft, almost shaking.
"If I tell you..."
"You'll be afraid of me too." Daniel frowned. "You think I scare that easily?" She glanced at him quickly, then looked away again. "Everyone does. That's why they kept me here. That's why they called me ugly, broken, useless." It was easier than admitting the truth. Daniel stepped in front of her, forcing her to stop. His eyes locked on hers. "What truth?" For a long moment she said nothing. The glow in her eyes flickered faintly, like a candle fighting to stay alive. Finally, she whispered, "I can see what others can't. I can sense danger before it comes. I can push things, bend them, break them with nothing but my will. The alien said it makes me a monster." Daniel's chest tightened. He thought of the way she moved through the traps, the way her eyes seemed to catch the unseen. It all made sense now. "You're not a monster," he said firmly. "You're extraordinary." The girl flinched at the word as if it was too heavy, too dangerous. "Don't call me that. If they hear you..." Before she could finish, the walls around them shifted with a deep grinding sound. Panels slid open and mechanical arms shot out, blades spinning. The path ahead filled with deadly traps and the floor beneath them split apart, opening into a bottomless pit. Daniel staggered back, nearly falling. The girl's eyes glowed brighter, her hand shooting out instinctively. The blades froze in midair, shaking violently, then bent and snapped like weak twigs. The pit below closed, the floor slamming shut as if it had never opened. Silence followed. Daniel's mouth hung open, his heart pounding. You just stopped the entire trap," he whispered. The girl's hands shook as she lowered them. She looked pale, drained, but still standing. "This is why they hate me. They said no human should have this power. They wanted me hidden, locked away. And if I failed their trials, I would die quietly. No one would ask questions." Daniel's jaw clenched. "That's why they laughed when I chose you. They thought I'd pick weakness. But they were wrong. I picked their biggest secret." The girl shook her head, fear flashing in her eyes. "You don't understand. The more I use this, the more they'll notice. The more dangerous it becomes. For both of us." Daniel took a deep breath, his voice steady. "Then let them notice. I'd rather stand with someone extraordinary than hide behind lies." For the first time, her expression softened. Her lips trembled, almost forming a smile, but before the moment could grow, a deep roar shook the chamber ahead. The path opened into another arena. This one was smaller, but the walls were alive with screens, showing the faces of the aliens watching from above. Their laughter had stopped. Their eyes were sharp now, full of suspicion and anger. The judge's voice boomed from hidden speakers. "Human, you cheat. You use forbidden strength." Daniel glared upward. "I made a choice. And it was the right one." The judge hissed, claws tapping against metal. "Then face the price." From the shadows of the arena floor, a new creature emerged. It was taller than the beast before, with a body of steel and bone, arms like blades, and eyes glowing with fire. The girl stepped closer to Daniel, her body tense. He could feel her fear, but also her determination. "Stay behind me," she whispered. Daniel shook his head. "No, we do this together." The creature roared, the sound shaking the ground. Sparks flew from its body as it charged forward. Daniel gripped his blade, ready to fight even if it meant certain death. But beside him, the girl's eyes blazed brighter than ever, her entire body glowing faintly now. The aliens above leaned forward, their claws tight, their voices whispering nervously. For the first time since the trial began, the laughter was gone. What filled the air instead was fear. The arena shook as the creature stepped forward. Its body was taller than any beast Daniel had faced before, a twisted mix of steel and flesh. Its long arms ended in blades sharp enough to slice stone. Sparks danced across its body as it roared, a sound that rattled Daniel's chest. Above, the alien crowd leaned forward, their strange eyes glowing on the screens. Their laughter was gone now. In its place was silence. Heavy, watchful, tense. Daniel gripped his blade tighter. It felt small, useless compared to the monster in front of him. Still, he raised it, ready to fight. His legs shook, but he forced himself to stand. Beside him, the scarred girl's eyes burned with light. She whispered softly, her voice almost lost in the rumble of the beast. They sent this one for me. Not for you. Daniel shot her a look. Then we fight it together. The creature charged, its heavy body shaking the ground with each step. Daniel jumped to the side as a massive blade arm slammed down, carving a deep line into the stone. The impact sent dust and shards flying. The girl did not run. She raised both hands, her body trembling, and for the first time she did not try to hide her power. Her eyes blazed bright, her scars glowing like fire beneath her skin. A wave of invisible energy burst outward. The creature stumbled back, its body sparking, its metal frame groaning under the sudden force. Daniel's jaw dropped. The power she had used before was nothing compared to this. Now it was like a storm had been waiting inside her, and the storm was finally free. The aliens hissed and shouted from above. Their voices overlapped in panic. Some slammed claws against the glass, others screamed words in their strange tongue. The judge's voice cut through the noise. "Control her! She must not unleash it." But it was too late. The creature roared again and swung both blade arms toward the girl. She did not move. She simply lifted her hands higher. The air cracked like thunder. The blades froze inches from her face, shaking violently as if caught in an unseen grip. Daniel could feel the energy in the air, pressing against his skin, filling the chamber with raw power. The girl's voice was low but steady now. "I am not broken. I am not weak." With a sharp motion, she pushed outward. The monster flew backward as if thrown by a giant hand. Its massive body slammed into the wall, leaving a crater of broken stone. For a moment, the beast lay still. Daniel almost believed it was over, until its glowing eyes flared again. With a furious roar, it pulled itself free and charged once more, faster than before. Daniel ran forward, trying to distract it. He slashed at its leg with his weak blade. The strike barely left a mark, but it was enough to slow the monster's step. "Now," Daniel shouted. The girl's eyes blazed like twin suns. She lifted her arms high, then slammed them down. A shockwave of energy exploded across the arena. The ground cracked, stone split, and the air burned with light. The creature screamed, its body shaking violently. Sparks burst from its metal frame and pieces of steel ripped away, flying through the air. Daniel shielded his face from the force. The sound was deafening. When the light faded, the monster was on the ground, broken. Its eyes flickered once, then went dark. Silence filled the chamber. Daniel lowered his arms slowly, staring at the girl. She stood in the center of the arena, her chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. Her scars glowed faintly, then dimmed as the light in her eyes faded. She looked exhausted but alive. Above them, the aliens were no longer laughing. They stared in silence, their faces twisted with shock and fear. The judge's voice came again, but it no longer carried the same confidence. It trembled with rage. "This is impossible. She should not exist." Daniel turned his gaze upward. "But she does." The girl swayed slightly, almost collapsing, but Daniel caught her by the arm. She leaned on him, her voice weak. "They won't stop now. They'll send more. Stronger ones." Daniel nodded, his grip firm. "Let them. We'll fight them together." For a brief second, her lips curved into a tired smile, but her eyes, though dimmed, still carried that spark, the spark the aliens feared. In the control room above, the judge turned to the other aliens. Its voice was sharp and urgent. "She remembers too much. If her power grows, it will spread. Others will rise." "This cannot be allowed," another alien hissed in reply. "Then end it now. Crush them both before it is too late." The judge's eyes narrowed. "No, not yet. Let the human see what happens when he protects a monster. Let him suffer before the end." Back in the arena, Daniel helped the girl walk toward the next passage. The air was thick with dust and the smell of burnt metal. His heart was still racing, but he felt something stronger than fear now. Hope. The aliens had lost their laughter. And Daniel knew. This was only the beginning of her true power. The corridor after the arena was darker than ever. Broken lights flickered weakly above, casting strange shadows on the walls. Daniel supported the girl as they walked, her weight leaning against his shoulder. She was drained, her glow almost gone, but her steps were steady. Daniel's heart was still pounding from what he had witnessed. He had seen her destroy the monster with nothing but her will. No weapon, no machine, just raw power. It was more than extraordinary. It was impossible, but he knew one thing. The aliens feared her. That fear was written on their faces, clear as day. Finally, after what felt like hours of silence, Daniel spoke. "You can't keep hiding this from me." "Who are you, really? Why do they fear you so much?" The girl's eyes lowered, her voice faint. "You don't want to know." Daniel stopped walking. He turned to face her, his voice sharp. I need to. I can't fight beside you if I don't understand. For a moment she stayed quiet, staring at the floor. Then slowly she lifted her head. The faint glow in her eyes returned, not with power this time, but with memory. They fear me, she whispered, because I am not just human. Daniel froze. The words sank into his chest like ice. The girl took a shaky breath and continued. I was born on Earth, yes. But my mother wasn't. She was one of them. Not exactly like the aliens here, but part of a race they destroyed long ago. She carried power in her blood, and when I was born, that power became mine. Daniel's mind spun. So, you're half human? She nodded. Half human, half something else. Something they hate. Her voice grew stronger now, though her hands trembled. The aliens who rule this arena destroyed my mother's people. They were afraid of their abilities. They called them dangerous, unnatural. They hunted every last one down. Her eyes burned with quiet anger. I am the last of her kind. And if they find out what I truly am, they will do everything to erase me, too. Daniel's throat tightened. It all made sense now, the scars, the shame, the laughter. They had hidden her in plain sight, calling her ugly, worthless, hoping no one would ever see what she really was. He placed a hand on her shoulder. That's why they laughed when I picked you. They thought I'd chosen weakness, but instead I chose their greatest fear. Tears filled her eyes, though she tried to hide them. You don't understand. This power, it's not a gift. It's a curse. The more I use it, the more it grows. The more it grows, the harder it becomes to control. Someday I might hurt you. Someday I might hurt everyone. Daniel shook his head firmly. No, you're not a curse. You're proof that they can't control everything. Proof that their power has limits. And I trust you. I trust you more than I've trusted anyone in this place. Her lips trembled. For the first time, she looked at him with hope instead of fear. Why? Why would you trust me after seeing what I am? Because, Daniel said softly, I saw the way you saved me. Again and again. A monster wouldn't do that. Only someone extraordinary would. For a moment, silence wrapped around them. Then she let out a shaky laugh, small but real. It was the first sound of joy Daniel had heard from her since this trial began. But their moment ended quickly. The walls around them trembled. A new voice echoed through hidden speakers. Colder than the judge, sharper, more dangerous. She remembers too much. Daniel tensed, glancing up. He could feel dozens of alien eyes watching through cameras. The voice continued. Her bloodline should have been erased long ago. This cannot continue. End them both. A loud crash shook the floor. Ahead, the corridor split open, revealing another chamber. From the darkness, dozens of smaller creatures poured out. Fast, sharp, their eyes glowing with hunger. Daniel raised his blade, though it felt hopeless against so many. Looks like they're sending the whole army now. The girl stepped forward. Though she was tired, her eyes flared with light once again. Her voice was steady, stronger than before. Then let them come. I won't run anymore. The creatures hissed, rushing toward them like a black wave. Daniel stood at her side, blade ready, heart steady. And for the first time, he did not feel fear. He felt pride in the girl everyone else had mocked. Pride in the secret the aliens tried to bury. Pride in the extraordinary power now standing beside him. Far above, in the alien command chamber, the judge slammed its claws against the control table. Stop her now, before she becomes unstoppable. But another alien hissed in fear. It's too late. She already is. Daniel and the girl stood at the edge of the storm, ready for the next fight, and though the darkness around them grew deeper, Daniel knew the truth. She was not broken. She was not weak. She was hope. And hope was the one thing the aliens could never kill. The swarm rushed like a living wave. Dozens of alien beasts, claws sharp and eyes glowing, charged through the broken chamber. Their screeches filled the air, echoing against the walls. The ground shook with the force of their steps. Daniel tightened his grip on his weak blade. He knew it wouldn't be enough, but he raised it anyway. He refused to back down. Beside him, the girl stepped forward. Her eyes burned brighter than ever, her scars glowing like fire under her skin. This time she did not try to hide. This time she let the power inside her rise fully. The first creature leapt, jaws wide, claws aimed for her throat. She didn't move. She simply raised her hand. A flash of light burst out. The beast froze in midair, suspended like a puppet on invisible strings. Then with a flick of her wrist it was crushed in an instant. Its body hit the floor with a heavy crack. The others hesitated for only a second. But then the swarm roared and attacked together. Daniel swung his blade at one creature, ducking under its strike, but most of the horde rushed at the girl. She lifted both arms and the air itself seemed to bend. A storm of invisible force ripped through the beasts, throwing them against walls, shattering bones, breaking steel. The arena became chaos. Dust, screams, the crash of bodies hitting stone. The girl stood in the center, glowing like a star in the darkness. Daniel fought at her side, cutting down the few that slipped past her storm. Sweat dripped down his face, but his heart pounded not with fear, but with awe. Above, the alien audience no longer mocked. They no longer laughed. They pressed against the glass of their chambers, their faces filled with horror. The judge slammed its claws on the control desk. "Stop her! Stop her now!" But nothing stopped her. Minutes later, silence fell. The chamber floor was littered with broken creatures. Smoke rose from the ground. Daniel dropped to his knees, breathing hard, his blade slick with dark alien blood. The girl stood tall in the center, her body trembling, her glow slowly fading. She looked exhausted but alive, strong, victorious. For a moment there was peace. Then the judge's voice filled the chamber, heavy with rage. "Enough, this ends now." A section of the wall split open, and from it rose something far larger than the beast before. A war machine, a towering alien construct made of black steel and glowing red veins. Its eyes burned with hatred, its massive arms tipped with spinning blades. Daniel's heart sank. That's no creature. That's a weapon. The girl swayed, almost collapsing, but caught herself. Her eyes lit again, though weaker now. "I don't know if I can stop that." Daniel stood beside her, his voice firm. "Then we stop it together." The machine roared, the sound shaking the chamber. It charged forward, each step smashing the ground like thunder. Daniel ran ahead, striking its leg with his blade. Sparks flew, but the cut barely scratched the steel. The machine swiped, throwing him back across the chamber. Pain shot through his body, but he forced himself to stand again. The girl raised her arms. Energy swirled around her, light bursting from her skin. She screamed as she released it, a beam of raw force slamming into the machine's chest. The weapon staggered but kept moving. Her knees buckled. Daniel caught her before she fell. She was shaking violently, her breath shallow. "You'll kill yourself if you push too far," Daniel said. Her eyes, glowing faintly, met his. "Better me?" "Than you." Daniel shook his head. "No, not better you. Not better anyone. We end this together, or not at all." The machine lifted its blade, ready to strike. Daniel gritted his teeth, ready to throw himself in front of it, but then the girl grabbed his hand. Light spread from her touch, wrapping around him, filling his body with warmth and strength. For a moment he felt it, the power she carried flowing into him. "Fight with me," she whispered. Daniel's eyes widened. Then he nodded. Together they raised their hands. A surge of light burst outward, brighter than anything before. It was not just her power anymore. It was theirs, joined, doubled, unstoppable. The machine froze, trapped in the storm of force. Cracks spread across its steel frame. With one final scream, they released everything. The machine shattered into pieces, exploding in a storm of fire and smoke. The chamber shook violently. Then silence returned. When the dust cleared, Daniel and the girl stood in the ruins, their hands still locked together. She collapsed against him, her glow gone, but her eyes alive. Above, the alien crowd was silent. Their fear filled the air. Daniel looked up at them and shouted, his voice echoing. "Your laughter is over. You thought she was weak. You thought I was foolish. But you were wrong." The judge stared down, its claws trembling. It said nothing. The girl leaned close to Daniel, whispering softly. "They'll never stop hunting me now." Daniel held her tighter. "Then let them come. They'll never win." She smiled faintly, her eyes closing for a moment. Then with her last breath of strength, she whispered words that froze Daniel's heart. "I didn't wait for you to choose me. I chose you." Daniel's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" But she only gave him that faint smile before slipping into unconsciousness. Daniel held her in his arms, staring at the silent aliens above. For the first time, they looked afraid, not of him but of her. And deep inside, Daniel knew the truth. This was not the end. It was only the beginning.